Hello and welcome back to Revolutionary Daydreams. My name is Nicholas Roman Lewis. I think my dog is coming in here. And today we're going to discuss how to start your art collection. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. And if you like what we talk about today, please like and subscribe. It's really important to make sure those algorithms are working. But before we get into this, I just want to say clearly there is no one way to start an art collection. There are as many different, theories on starting an art collection as there are, pieces of art in the sea, one would say. But what I want to talk to you today is what I think. I am not an expert in the sense that I'm a PhD or I'm some vaulted curator, but that's the point. Because what I want to get at is that you don't have to be in some type of elite world to have a really lovely and authentic and meaningful art collection. So before we start, I want to give you just two different ways to think about the art market, or really some business terms. So first, there's the primary art market. The primary art market is literally when a work is new to the art scene. It is coming from an artist studio directly to a gallery or directly to a point of sale. Or you could be buying that from an artist, from their studio. Then there is a secondary art market. The secondary art market is just that. These are works that have already been sold, already in the art market. So if you're buying a Picasso, that is secondary work. And so sometimes what I talk about may have different nuances depending on that. But again, this is again, there's no one set way. So I want to talk about the first thing that you should try to think about, and it may be counterintuitive, but you know, I want you to start to develop a collector's mindset. So, what does that mean? Collecting art is not shopping. What do you mean, Nicholas? It's not shopping? Well, of course, some people, they go to the art fairs and they're literally just shopping. They're trying to get the latest name brand artist. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is for, hopefully thinking of yourself as a patron, because what do patrons do? Patrons support art and artists. And while we may not be the Medicis and, Renaissance Europe, we can be our patrons in our own little networks, and really, you'd be surprised how much of an impact that can make. So, the first thing, develop a collector's mindset. And I'm just going to make this like really quick because what I want to hit on are just those guiding principles. And then in other videos, I'm going to come back and we're going to dig a little deeper into some of these principles as well as artwork. So, whenever you hear about collecting art, people will say, collect what you love. I'm going to say no. Mm-mm. Before you get to that, you need to learn how to train your eye. So let me just take this off here for a minute and talk to you. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to educate yourself. And the education when it comes to training your eye is definitely nuanced, but it's going to be as personal as it is to each individual. And training your eye is going to help you ascertain quality. And then a well trained eye can hone in on great work, even if you don't like it. So you may be saying, okay, well, Nicholas, how do I do that? I don't trust my eye. I don't know that I have a quote unquote good eye. Well, don't worry about it, because you can borrow someone's eye. And you do that very simply. I mean, you go to museums, you go to art fairs, you go to galleries. You also go to high-end antique stores. And that's very important that they be high-end and not just the average kind of junky antique store, because you're looking for people who have already done the work, right? You want to read those curatorial statements. You want to pick up those pamphlets and take them home. You want to have those conversations with those art gallerists. And you want to start to take notes, right? You want to question yourself, interrogate yourself. Why do you like something? Why do I like this Monet? Why do I hate this Basquiat? Why do I love this Warhol? You know, ask yourself those questions, start to take notes, start to remember or see what patterns are coming about, because, you know, ultimately, that is the question you're going to have that's going to start to filter what you will be bringing into your home and how you start to think about your art collection. Another way to help train your eye is really simple: art books. Now, I love books, particularly art books, because there are lots of pretty pictures. But the real thing with art books that I love is that you know, just can educate yourself. So I pick up. This is a book that I use a lot. It's Modern Art. This is a history from Impressionism to today. It's really helpful. Even though this particular book does not have good representation for people of color, it's still a good book, and perhaps Taschen should work on that for a revised edition. I'm also telling you about this book because Taschen, they are great publishers for art books. Another wonderful publisher for art books is Phaidon. I will put these links in the description below. But, you know, these are, you know, inexpensive books to help you with your research, help you hone in onto those, you know, schools of art, areas of art that you really like. This one, for example, a good example: Bubble Texture, Inflatable Architecture and Design. Now, I really love modern design elements. I don't know enough to start to collect. I'm not even sure I actually want to collect them, but picking up this book, which was like 20 bucks, helps me start to dig deeper, understand concepts, and then start to figure out if that's something I really want to bring into my world. Also, I can't stress it enough. So, you know, the reason why you want to start with art books before you really start investing, like, this is a book that I use. I collect a contemporary art from the African diaspora, and this is contemporary art since 1980. Again, these are artists plying their trade. It helps you quickly. I don't have to travel the world. I don't have to go to every museum in the world. When you get these books, you can start to do your own research. And, you know, pro tip here, they look really great as coffee table books. I'm going to give you another pro tip: monographs. Now, this has to go with your budget. So you may, here's one, Howardena Pindell, What Remains to Be Seen. There's an amazing exhibit. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it. In New York right now on this artist abstract work that she does. Now, the pro tip is that even if you can't afford an artist work, you may want to invest in their monographs. And that is another way. People have amazing collections for monographs of artist works, because, you know, it helps, again, support the artist, and it helps you broaden your skills. Remember, your eye is connected to your emotions, and that is really what you're trying to flesh out when you're doing this research. When you start to understand and give language to what it is you're feeling, that is going to serve as a filter, right, in helping you kind of distinguish what it is that you may want to say with your particular collection. So, as I said, people will often say, "Oh, well, just collect what you love." So, I actually think that you know, collecting what you love is more so of you know, down the line. You collect what you love, at which point you kind of understand what you love. And there's a question I like to ask. You ask yourself, you know, do I like it or do I love it? And if you love it, do you want to bring it into your house and live with it? Because remember, your art collection is a reflection of you, and these are the things that you live with. So in my art collection, I have things that I love, and then I have things I want to live with, but then I have things that, like, I want to live with this in my bedroom because it makes me feel a certain way. Or I want to live with this in my in my den, in my front parlor, so on and so forth, because it has a different kind of meaning to it. And I definitely don't want this in my bedroom. But it all goes to things that I've loved, that I brought into my house, and that I have a personal relationship. And when people experience your art collection, they can have some of those same emotions and start to learn something about you. And those are the kind of nuances that I, want to get out there when you talk about starting an art collection, because it's not just about, okay, I have this artist on my wall, and I paid so much for that. It really is, what is this saying about you? How is this a reflection? So, I'm going to keep this quick and keep moving on. When you figure out what you love, you may want to start looking at exploring different mediums. So, why do I suggest this? A very quick story. I used to think that I only wanted paintings. This is before I really, in earnest, started collecting art. I was like, I only want paintings. Because what I was thinking is that I really needed to have the touch of the artist. I wanted the artist's fingerprints on this work. But as I started to grow, as I started to explore, as I started to interrogate myself and really what I loved, I realized that there was a whole world out there. So for you, if you're just coming to, seriously thinking about an art collection, just don't think about paintings. Think about sculptures, think about photography, think about limited edition works. Now, I before would have never really thought about limited edition works, but that is a really great way to acquire work in a collection. Limited edition works are much more affordable, and it still allows you a way to be supportive of artists and to start to develop that the voice that you're trying to have for your art collection. In particular, there's an artist that I love. His work is tens of thousands of dollars. I cannot afford that, but I can afford and have a few of his works on paper, which are a fraction of the price. And I was able to acquire those works by really talking about all the things that I've done now. So let's keep moving, because again, what I want us to talk about is kind of really those quick things, and we're going to, in other videos, go a little deeper. So you want to think about creating your budget. I think this is kind of, well, it's self-explanatory, but then it's not. And I'll tell you why. So you always hear about just the sexy part of the art market on the news. Someone bought $1 million painting, a $400 million painting, you recently we've been seeing online the fabulous auctions at Christie's and Sotheby's, and just the money and pounds flying everywhere. But if you have $100, $5,000, $5 million, you really want to consider your budget, because there's research that goes into that, and it helps you. And trust you, those people buying multi-million dollar works, they have lots of advisors that are talking to them about all of the value of that work, how that work may be able to be turned, sold down the line. All that goes into that. And the same amount of thought, even though you may not have tons of advisors, should be going into when you're thinking about your own art. Another thing about your budget is, this may not be as intuitive. You want to develop relationships with the art dealers. Now, why do you want to do this? One, it's just good to have a relationship, but develop a relationship and do not be afraid to ask for a payment plan. Trust me, all the rich folks, that is an option that is in their arsenal. And if you want to develop that relationship, then that art dealer is going to know that you are legit. They know that when you call, when you email, you are a serious collector, and they are going to be willing to work with you. Now, if you find a dealer who is not willing to work with you, or just doesn't even want to have that conversation, that can be shady, and that should be a red flag to you. And, try to find those dealers who really want to have an ongoing relationship with you, because that means they are trying to have the best interest for that artist, right? Or the artists that work for them at hand. Another thing you want to think about is auctions. I just said, you may not be able to stroll into the, Christie's or Sotheby's or Bonham's evening sale and get a discount. I mean, unless your budget is 10 million and you got something for 7 million. That's not all of us, but there's tons of auction houses. And what they do is that you can find deals, particularly when you hone into what you really want. So moving on, and this also may not be as intuitive, but attend graduate shows. Where do you think you find the next artist? The next artists, or the artists that are currently developing their practices, that are dedicated to being in this field. The graduate shows are not just ways to develop these relationships, but you can find amazing work that is just simply less expensive. It can be more affordable. And this is where you start to seeing young artists understanding their voice. That may help you start to define your voice, or where you want your collection to go to. I've been very fortunate to see lots of amazing art students that have gone on to really be successful. Now, unfortunately, well, there was one I really wanted to purchase some work from them. I just didn't have the resources at the time, but it's just a really great feeling to just see the trajectory of those artists, and to know that sometimes when they're at that level, just being supportive in any way you can be really impactful. So the next thing I want to talk about really quickly is making sure you use the internet. Again, this seems like something that's self-explanatory, but the reason why you want to use the internet when we're looking at your art collection is price transparency. You can use various sites to literally find out what the dollar amount of an artwork is, or work of a particular artist. I use artsy.net is great, artspace.com. I think it's mutualart.com. There's tons of excuse me, really great websites out there that are going to help you, one, do your research, two, find this transparency, and then three, just explore, being able to explore artists. If you're watching this, you probably are familiar with, us being in quarantine now. So many of the exhibits and fairs went online. So this has been an opportunity for you literally to, quote unquote, walk through some of these art fairs and find out, work from artists that you may just have never seen before, and then do that deep dive and in doing the research and learning more about their work. The other really great thing about the internet is to being able to go to sign up for newsletters. Newsletters are a great way to stay in the loop in the art world, particularly when you are serious about your collection, because you're going to get the inside scoop from gallerists. You're going to learn about the VIP previews. But you're also going to get the emails when something is available. Now, again, this may not be with the gazillion dollar, dealers and artists like that, but the local, the reputable galleries that you are working with, stay on that email list, create those relationships, and that's a really great way. Now, I also wanted to talk quickly about antique stores and high-end antique stores. If you can develop relationships with those dealers as well, they can actually be an eye for you. So I have often, my partner and I, we've gone, we know lots of antique dealers, and they know what we're looking for, right? And they help with us trying to curate our collection. We're not paying for that service, but they know what we are, what we like. And so if there's something out there, they'll let us know, and we buy for it. It's a win-win. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to start an art collection. As I said, I just want to get people talking about it. It's really important to support art and artists. Please like and subscribe, as what I want to do in the future is have more videos talking about my art collection to let you know how someone who doesn't have a lot of money but has a lot of passion for art was able to, and continuously build my collection, but also to highlight artists, to talk about their work, to talk about their practice. So please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.